Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rhapsody Music here in Anthem, Arizona, in our Rhapsody studio as part of our Rhapspired music series. This is going to be a huge treat for all of us today. I am so thrilled to have these folks that are sitting next to me here today. Some of you know, we know Pete's been on some videos, so Pete Rose is with us. Yay! Our drum instructor and drum extraordinaire, Mr. Mike Mule. And a mainstay in the Phoenix Valley here in music for about how many years, sir?
Oh, wow, probably about 20 some years.
20 some or more years, playing all over the valley, doing a bunch of different groups. We have with us Mr. Dave Allen. Everybody give a big hand. I know the crux of the meeting is these three right now are playing in a group that they refer to as the Dave Allen Trio, and they're playing around quite a bit. I know some of Dave's background. I know that he and Mike played in a group called Tumbleweed Junction for a lot of years. That was a little more of a traveling band. You did some New Mexico, Arizona, California, Tech, and that
we
whole
were pretty regional.
Yeah, and then I know when I got into town here, that group had evolved into David Allen Old School Logic. Which Mike was still playing with. At a certain point, Pete joined in and was the bass player for that band. And then that evolved into the Dave Allen Trio, which, by the way, if you have not had a chance to hear these three play together, it's a pretty amazing experience. I talk about where we try and get to and aspire to as musicians. This group really is smooth to listen to, enjoyable, very musical things we like to do. And then Dave and Mike are also playing a group called the Arizona Highwaymen, which is based on a tribute band to the Highwaymen. So these guys are have been performing a long time, and are performing a lot. This is the real deal, everybody. So we're really excited to have you guys with us today, David, especially. You two I get to see all the time. But, the question we put out to people, and a lot of the younger kids were, how'd you get started? We get the clarinet story, that switched to the guitar, whatever. But for you guys, you've been doing this a significantly long time, and you are exceptional musicians. And I kind of want to know, from the standpoint of like your inspiration musically, what inspires let's go back. What inspired you to want to be a musician? We'll just go down the road. Let's start with David. What inspired you to get started, man?
Wow, that goes all the way back as far as I can remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, the music thing, I think one of my first memories of music was I was probably about 4 or 5 years old, and I was sitting down. I'm from Ohio, so we had them 2-story houses back there. And I was sitting down in the den, and I was just singing one morning, and nobody was up. It was real early in the morning, just probably about daybreak. And my mom heard me, and she come downstairs, and she said, "What are you singing?" And it was actually I can't remember. I think it's an Eddie Arnold tune called "Lucky Old Son." Maybe it's a different writer, but she actually had the album. So she took the vinyl. That's vinyl for way back. That's all we had. Vinyl. She put the vinyl album on there on the big console.
Right, the record
big
player.
Thing,
the phonograph.
And we sat there on the floor and just sang with the song.
No kidding.
So for me, that probably started it. And then, later on when we moved out here to Arizona, I was about 9 back then, and my brother played music, and he played in bands around here at the Roadrunner pretty much, because the Roadrunner was where I grew up here in New River. And he played in bands, and I would jump in and sing, and then learn to play guitar, and then just went from there.
And it went from there.
Crazy,
Yeah. It is interesting how many stories. There's not one story that's been said yet that did not have a mentor person that somehow was part of that journey. Some kind of, whether it's support
influence,
or an icon or influence, something like that. So Mr. Mule, how about you, sir?
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Where'd you get that from?
Well, growing up in Island Park, New York, as a kid, I had a lot of older friends that were musicians. It was a small town, but there were so many musicians playing, and just used to like my friend Paul Kruger, John Greedo, Tommy Freeze, Quentin Constantine. I forgot his last name, but they all played in bands,
Yeah.
you know, and I used to just go and watch them all the time. And
Those names are musicians, right?
yes. So
Thanks for taking care of that thing for me.
I used to walk by John Guido's house. He's always
Yeah.
I take care of it now. But he was always up in his room playing like Zeppelin to the albums and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And every day I walk by and I just sit by the fence like this. And I go, damn, it sounds so good. So one day he comes out of his room and he says, "Hey kid, what are you doing over there?" So I said, "I'm just listening to you." So he was like, "Come on up."
No
So,
kidding?
yeah, he brought me up to his room. He had the John Bonham 3-piece drum set, and he was like, "You want to play on it?" I was like, I couldn't really play anything at that time, but
You hadn't played drums by that time.
No.
You were wow.
yeah, I was only a kid.
Yeah.
But I always went to see my friend's band, and I always just found myself just like staring at the drummers, and I was like, man, I want to do that. I want to do it. And then, make a long story short, probably around 13, 14. I went to see my first Kiss concert. The drums were blowing up, and the lights, and the fire, and the smoke. I was like, I was like, that's what I want to do
That's
for
what
the
I wanna
rest
do.
of my life.
Yeah, at 13, I bet a Kiss concert was pretty influential. There's no doubt
was
about
pretty
that.
cool. But yeah, even in school, I tried the trumpet. I tried guitar, and I was no good at it. And they seen a little drum set on the corner, and that kind of caught my eye.
Yeah.
So I started, playing, and he started giving me some lessons, And we actually played our prom in, high school and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It was pretty cool.
How cool! Sitting on the fence, listening
Yeah.
to a guy play his drums. How cool is that? That's a cool thing. Pete, I know we've heard a couple stories of you over the videos, but let's still go back. What inspires you here?
Well, when I was very young, the most important thing that happened was the invention of electricity.
Right.
So
Thank you, Keith.
that enabled me to have all this stuff later on.
Yeah.
But I grew up in a musical household. My mom was a dancer and a musical theater actress in London before she moved over to this country. My dad, we had a huge stereo in my living room, and my dad either played John Philip Sousa records or German beer drinking songs, louder than anything I would ever play. So yeah, there you go. So there was always some kind of music happening in my house, and then, like I mentioned before on one of these things, that I'm of that age that the Beatles, watching them on
yeah, I remember
television.
that.
When I saw them, I just said, "That's what I want to do." And my mom, being from England, sitting next to me on the couch, said, "Yeah, that's what you should do." So I started playing professionally when I was 12. I picked up the guitar on my own, and I had already started taking trombone lessons when I was in third grade, and so it was kind of went like that.
How'd you get to 7th position as a third grader?
I only played in certain keys, but I didn't have to get out there.
That's one way of doing it.
Anyways, my mom was just as enthralled with the Beatles as I was. So I started playing professionally when I was 12, playing at the Volunteer Fire Department Hall in Jackson Center, Pennsylvania,
There you
for
go.
the sock hop
There
on
you
Saturday nights. I got $5, a free hot dog, and a Coke.
And was this transition to bass by this time?
No,
or
I
guitar?
was still playing guitar.
Guitar, okay.
So yeah, hot dog and a Coke and $5, and that's pretty much what we still make now.
Yeah.
At least they try.
I think we get 50 cents more at least.
Sometimes I get 2 Cokes. Yeah. Or you get a discount on a hot dog. Anyways, so kind of doing this with guitar and then trombone, and where I lived was a very small town in Pennsylvania, and the high school had grades 7 through 12 all in one building, and then there was no separation. There was no junior high and high school. It was all just everyone was there. So as I was going from 6th grade to 7th grade, the high school band director came by and said, "How'd you like to play in the varsity marching band next year?" And I said, yeah, that'd be great. He said, okay, went out to his car and brought a tuba into my house and said, "Learn how to play this, I'll see you in September." And that's
Wow.
That's what
That's
he
how it started, yeah.
yeah, so I was familiar with bass clef instruments and low instruments and everything, and how rhythm should work and how a bass player should function with a group. And when I was playing guitar, I was always trying to tell the bass player how to how to play with a band. I said, doggone, I'm just going to do it myself.
Yeah.
So that's when I switched over to bass. And I think the biggest key to it, and it's impossible to do now these days, but I always tried to play with people who were older than me,
Oh, yeah.
who had more experience. And not that I was totally incapable of keeping up with them, but that I had to really stay on my toes
Right.
and just really focus on what I was doing
Right.
to keep up with them. And I think that motivated me to this day. I keep trying to get better. Every time we go play somewhere, I will pay attention to what I'm playing and how it fits in with the music, and just try to constantly get better. I think that's the best thing about music to me. One of the best things is that you'll never get to be the best. You'll never. It's something that you will constantly strive for to
You
improve.
never stop learning either.
Yeah.
Never.
So that I think is the best part of it.
Yeah, I'm going to come back to that. I know I was interested. You said Pennsylvania?
Mhm.
New York?
Arizona.
Oh, well,
Mostly.
earlier than that,
But
when you started,
I'm from Toledo, Ohio.
Toledo, Washington State. I mean, I'm thinking about kind of the different influences we had in the earlier parts, and it'd be interesting to take a different video sometime and really talk about the real, even geographical differences of opportunity or what style we kind of grew up with. That's kind of cool. The point you just made is a real good one, though, because that segues to the next is the lifelong nature of what we do here. Hey, we all started music in a time where I think it was probably a little more, I don't know about you guys, there was a natural progression that was part of a lot of things people could do. Nowadays, kids have to make a lot of choices. You know, oh, can I take this academic or can I take this music? Can I get this good? So there's more roadblocks, it feels like to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the right word, but it was easy for me to get into music when I was a kid. It was just there. It was normal. Nowadays, kids, it's really important that the parents are hearing these stories and giving them those opportunities and sitting down and playing an album with them or sharing with them, hey, this is who I listened growing up, or all those things, because there's so many things that they're hit with now that if we're not doing what we can do to inspire the next generation, we don't know where this is going to go. But now we take this long-term, lifelong journey, right? Mike said it, we're always learning, always learning. I tell people the more, the more I know, the less I realize. I realize the less I know and the more I'm trying to learn, right?
Yeah.
So today, you guys all have stories about you started. Today, you're still doing this full-time plus, as far as I'm concerned, with what your guys' schedules are. What keeps you going?
Wow.
What keeps you going, Dave? Every day. I saw you last night at Rhapsody's doing a solo gig,
Yeah.
singing a tune with your wife at the end. That was
Yeah,
so
we did
very,
Jackson.
very cool. Yeah. Tomorrow, Saturday, you're going to be doing
I'll
Chileen's
do Chileen's.
and back at
And
Roadrunner.
then we're at the Roadrunner.
Yeah.
Filling in with.
So what keeps this going for you? What keeps you inspired to spend this much time and energy?
I honestly believe that we grew up, our age group, I think we grew up in the best time in history for music, for American music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The evolution from the 50s, the rockabilly, the progression of the rock, the 80s, the hair bands, all the way through the 70s, 80s, and into the 90s where it went dark. Okay, with grunge, things went a little dark. Adult alternative music, they call it. But and some of that was pretty cool too. You know what I mean? But that was the whole thing about that was that they were able to express themselves. Nowadays, the music industry it subdues what they want to put out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They pretty much control all that. That's why us being with Tumbleweed Junction all this time, and being out on the road and doing it for a living for over 12 years,
Yeah.
Just hard on our own steam, independent, indie, was probably the best thing we ever did, really, and never get signed, because if we'd have got signed, they'd have ruined,
Yeah.
it just would have ruined it, I think. I believe it, I really do, So, for me, that power of music is it's a power. Music is a power. And somebody asked me, I guess I'd put it this way, somebody had a meme one time, I seen it, it said, if you were a superhero, what would your superpower be? And I went, I already have a superpower. And they said, what is it? And I said, I'm a musician. I said, I can control your emotions for up to 4 hours at a gig. I can make you laugh. I can make you cry.
Yeah.
I can take you back to memories, you know, and I can, you know, I can give you hope and inspiration and joy,
Right.
you know, or you can, you know, some people can take it the negative way, which I think as a musician and a songwriter, the biggest responsibility is to be positive, to bring joy.
Yeah.
And the songs that I write and things like that are more, make sure that I have a resolve in those songs. They may start out with something, maybe a tough topic. You
Sure.
know, I'm a country writer, so.
The jokes abound, right?
Yeah. I mean, some tough topics in
Yeah.
there. And to be able to do that and to give a resolve within the song,
Yeah.
to give somebody hope, or just, you can't just leave them
Yeah.
and drop it like that. So for me, that's what keeps me going.
Yeah, I mean, and if we think about
It's the joy.
creators, because you're a creator, as a songwriter and all that, and we could talk about probably authors. We could talk about artists. We could talk about a variety of people that have the ability to create a story, create a connection to a story or a trial through their art form. That's a gift. I mean, that's a gift, and I think you're right. I think that's one of those important pieces that we bring. I've always thought music is different, though. I mean, even writers are great. I'm not taking away anything from a great book that really draws you in, or a painting that you can just sit and appreciate. To me, there's something, that tangibly live moment of exchange in the music scene that you did. Maybe dramatic. Maybe there's from a stage actor point of view, maybe there's a little more of the ability to create that right there live thing. But musicians, to me, that's what it's there. That's right there. That whole audience is connected to you and what you're doing. They're living a story, living an experience, living something through what you're presenting
It's so
to
powerful.
them. Yeah,
It's
which
so
is
powerful that each individual, for one song that I sing or that I write and put out, everybody that hears it's going to have their own vision
Yeah.
in their head. But to be able to take them there with the words and with the music, to be able to hold their attention and keep them and take them there, I think that's tough. It's
Yeah.
not an easy thing to do, but it's important, like I said, because, like you said, that live exchange. We put out that energy, that joy and that energy, and then we get it back tenfold. Everybody's happy.
true fact.
That's real happy. And
True fact.
another thing I want to bring up about, when we had this COVID lull and entertainment shut down and we couldn't go out and play, and people couldn't go out and listen to music live. It was horrible.
Yeah.
You don't know what you got till it's gone. And when we came back in, the generosity and the appreciation from people was amazing.
There was
It
a
was totally
deep
amazing.
hole in
It was
the absence of
amazing.
music.
Come
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
I want to go out.
for sure.
Yeah, it was
Get out of my
amazing.
house.
Sure. So, Mikey, what keeps you going these days, man?
What keeps me going? Well, it's the music, of course. Growing up as a kid, like I said, my dad was a big all 50s, the doo-wop, Love all the doo-wop, Elvis Presley, they were like their favorite things. Music. But what keeps me going is I just love playing, whether it's in front of 10, 20,000 people or there's 5 people out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the band is clicking and everything's tight and you get that little tingle up the back of you and it goes right to your neck and your hands are staring up like this. And if you're not a musician, it's really hard to describe, but it's the best feeling in the world to go out and play, and like Dave said, and just look at the reaction of the audience and getting back the feedback. You're putting it out, you're getting it back. It's, like I said, it's the most beautiful thing in the world to me, besides my wife. Like that? But,
Don't edit that out.
but and just coming back, whether you went on tour or you're just playing local things, and coming back and teaching these kids. I mean, I've been here, like 13 years now?
Yeah.
I was the first drum instructor in the door, and just watching the joy on their face and watching them learn. I had students that were maybe 10, 12 years, 13 years, going to college, playing, band Happy Accidents, going on tour, making a couple albums. I mean,
Yeah.
it just, I couldn't think of it, anything.
Right? I mean, think about it like that. You really, it's hard to conceptualize doing something else, really. I mean, you've got that other gig where you're building things for people, which is nice too.
No, that's a good
But I
point.
mean, it's hard to conceptualize that. And again, the teaching element is huge to me. I mean, that's huge. I don't know if I ever really would have wanted to get into such a performance cycle where I was out doing that gigging. I don't know if I'd wanted to be that guy in the symphony. I'm not sure. The teaching thing was so big to me. But when I'm playing, I get that same thing. That synergy that comes together. I've told students growing up when I was doing like high school bands, music is one of those areas where the collective whole, it is in fact greater than the sum of the parts you come together. And you're talking about that moment when it just gels. I mean, I'm getting chills right now talking about it.
You feel it.
I mean, it just goes zoom straight up and you're like, yeah.
Tear in your eye.
We're going,
You're like,
we're going.
This is why I do this.
Yeah. Pete, you too, sir. You do a lot of gigging still, and a lot of teaching. What keeps you getting up every day and doing it?
Well, beside the fact that I owe a lot of money to people,
And we don't make a lot of money. We're just in this anyway.
Were those any of the guys that Mike was talking about earlier? I'm just curious.
Is that John Brio?
yeah, can you help me with that? There are times, there are musical moments, everybody's been saying here, where everything is just flowing, For me as a bass player is if I have a good drummer. If I've got a drummer that we're just, clicking with, a 4-hour gig can seem like we've been playing for 10 minutes.
Right.
And it's over. I go, no, I want to keep going. This is, this is great. The opposite can sometimes be true also. You'll play with a band that is just not quite up to snuff.
Play that funky music.
And yeah, and it's one of those gigs where you close your eyes and you think, okay, this set's almost over. You look up and you've been playing for 7.5 minutes. And so there's those times too. I tell my students, I said, in a lot of cases, a lot of times, it's not the music that is kind of the best part about being a musician. It's the places you get to go. It's the things you get to do, the people you get to meet, that you would never have any other reason to be invited to go to or to be able to experience. So part of what keeps me going is that the music is my key into those doors, into those different areas. And that's what keeps me going. Plus, I just want to keep getting better.
Yeah. Always getting better. I know. I was thinking about this. We've got our instructors are getting together to do a band. We're calling it Wednesday Night Funk. It's kind of what we've been doing for a while. But watching, I love hanging out in the room here, practicing and playing with everybody. B, love watching some of the younger kids that we have coming on as instructors and watching them begin to progress and develop and feeling that band start come together and actually play some things and just being able to say, I get to sit here and do this. And like once a week I get to hang out with some of the best people that I hang out with. And we just sit here and we play for an hour to 90 minutes, and that's it's kind of amazing stuff. All right, think for a moment. Most influential artist. You get 5 seconds. I'll point at each one of you. Most influential artist. And Pete.
Frank Zappa.
Frank Zappa. Mikey.
Talking about drummer or band?
You personally. Anybody you want, man.
John Bonham.
John Bonham.
Mark Knopfler.
Mark Knopfler. I would have to say at this point in my career, probably Doc Severinsen is probably still the guy I'm going to go to as the class across the board of everything we does. Hey, David, you're a songwriter. That's a different thing. You talked a little bit about just the storytelling connection, sort of that. How did you get into songwriting first of all? Because how young were you when you really started kind of?
Again, when I was as far back as I can remember, when I learned to write in school.
Yeah.
I remember sitting on the stairs at home just writing songs and singing and writing them and singing, you know, just.
Right.
I taught him everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we were going to mention that later.
Yeah.
And so, and was it always, you know, obviously, you know, music gets into kind of a, you know, rhyming poetry. There's a meter, there's that sort of thing. Was it kind of right from the start where you were into that thing?
Yeah. The thing about it is after, you know, picking up guitar and doing, you know, and starting to really play a little bit when I was about 13, you know, 12, 13, 14 years old. Again, here's those vinyls. See that my mom started something with that. So because later, that's what I would do is I would sit on the floor. I'd put Jackson Browne was another really big influence of mine. So that album, The Pretender, and all that on there, I would sit on the floor and the cool part about those albums is you could open the whole thing.
Right.
There was artwork inside. You never knew the cool artwork that was going to be inside, and there was always a sleeve with the lyrics on it.
Yep.
So I would just sit on the floor and read along as the lyrics, because especially Jackson Browne, because the imagery that the word craft and the imagery that he had is amazing. He's just an amazing songwriter.
So you connected with that pretty early.
Connected really early.
Really early with that sense of wanting to be part of that creative process.
It appealed to me because I wanted to pick a guitar up and I wanted to write my own stuff.
I love that.
And
I love that.
It was.
We could probably talk for another 2 hours, and
Oh,
with the people here, we could probably talk for others. But I got a treat for you guys that I think you are going to be thrilled with. Because what we're going to do, well, I'm so appreciative of having Pete and Mike and David here, the David Allen Trio, some instructors here at Rhapsody as well, is we get to hear them play. We're going to close today's video with them performing for you guys, which will be a super treat. So again, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please contact us at any point in time here at the store, 623-465-7060. Website is Rhapsody Music AZ. Check in what we're doing, like these videos, connect with us on Facebook. Make sure you're following Dave Allen. What's your Facebook
David
website?
Allen Music on Facebook. Google it and look for my mug. because
David Allen
there's so
Music.
many David Allens out there.
The Arizona Highwayman, David Allen Trio. There's a ton of good music you can get for this. So don't tune away because these guys are going to perform for you next. All right, Jim, let's move this table. Ladies and gentlemen, the Dave Allen Trio.